Hello, I'm Paul Zimmy Finn, and this is the Generation Report. I want to take just a few minutes to explain what inspired me to create the Generation Report, as well as clarify how I hope that inspiration will resonate for others. As someone who has loved history all my life, the big questions of how and why things follow each other in time have always fascinated me. For years, three such questions continually recurred for me. Why are so many predictions about the future based on history wrong? Why does America seem to be in dramatic decline despite so much about daily life getting better? Why are millennials so different from older Xers and much older boomers? Other questions emerged later. Why did the financial crisis of 2008 and the Great Recession that followed it seem to change America in a way other recent events, including 9/11, did not? Why are the distinctions made between different generations so often arbitrary, given without much explanation, or both? Why are millennials so often referred to as Generation Y? And for God's sake, what is Generation Z? For as much personal satisfaction as I attained studying history and international relations, I seldom came across much, in school, in the media, in my everyday life, that gave what I saw as satisfactory answers to these questions. Instead, I came across an endless conveyor belt of programming and literature contoured with messages such as, "In the 1960s, change was in the air," in which posed questions like, could it have been possible to avoid the Cold War? Memorizing cliches and considering inane questions mattered more than understanding the big picture of where America had been and where it was going. Then, about 5 years ago, I came across Strauss and Howe's theory for the first time. After I read The Fourth Turning and carefully examined and tested its theory against things I was seeing and had personally experienced, so much began to make sense. Finally, it made sense why the events of 2008 had changed the way I saw myself and my own future. Finally, it made sense why my own priorities and experiences as a millennial are what they are. Finally, it made sense why so many predictions I had heard over many years about being at the end of history were wildly wrong. Finally, it made sense why the 60s had happened. Finally, it made sense why my parents and my older family members are different in the ways they are different. Finally, it made sense why the culture wars divisions have become worse by the year. Finally, it made sense why the boundary line between Generation X and the millennials had always seemed to be just a few years before I was born. Finally, it made sense why the older and younger halves of the millennial generation are so often invoked as Y and Z, derivatives of Xers, by amateur observers and journalists. There is an indelible connection between generations and history. Yet improper labels and half-truths about generations persist because most people have not encountered the basis for this connection between generations and history. History is not linear. History is seasonal. And the generations who live through it create history's seasonal rhythm. Generations are groups of people born close together in time who reshape the world as they live. If there is a pattern in generations, there must be a pattern in history. That seasonal rhythm of history has brought America into a crisis today. Like crises we have faced before, but unique in its dimension for today's living generations and for our time. The value in understanding the generational rhythm of American history lies in the context it gives each person for their distinct place in the story arc of America past, present, and future. Everyone who takes it upon themselves to learn about Strauss and Howe's theory can better understand their own experiences and perspectives, as well as the experiences and perspectives of those they care about. This historical framework gives millennials, my generation who now almost entirely comprise the population of young adults, a basis for what will likely unfold and what will be expected of us as the remainder of our young adulthood and our peak leadership years still lie ahead. And it gives today's parents of very young children, and future parents of children yet to be born, a sense of what the future may hold forth for them. In short, understanding Strauss and Howe's generational theory is critically important given the crisis we are living through today in America. Offering a basis for that understanding is the value the Generation Report seeks to present. Please tune in to the next episode, Generational Theory Part 1, 6 Concepts. Thank you for listening.